Hey everyone, welcome to Past Lives and the Divine. I'm Gina, the host of this podcast, and today I'm going to help you get even more comfortable in hypnosis and exploring other lifetimes. In this episode, you're going to learn about where hypnosis comes from and the theories behind what we're actually doing when we're experiencing a past life regression or exploring other lifetimes or soul memories. And this information is coming to you via a splice of a recording from the Hypnotic Arts Training. In the Hypnotic Arts Training, we cover the history of hypnosis and clinical hypnosis. We go into intention, philosophy, values, personal experiences as hypnotists. We talk a lot about intuition development because as we navigate these unseen realms, knowing, understanding, connecting with your intuition is a big tool and a way that we can step into our power, feel better in that session, and do even better work for that client. We also, of course, cover everything you need to know to do a past life regression, to offer that service. And we also go deeper into other modalities, life between lives or space between lives, spirit guide sessions, shadow work, entity removal, all kinds of things. And then we also, as a part of this training, help people just in starting that thinking behind using your hypnosis as a part of your business, using your hypnosis however you're going to use it going forward. So Sarah and I share a little bit behind the scenes within our own businesses, and then also give you all tips and hypnotic journeys to help the students in the Hypnotic Arts Training to decide how they want to use their hypnosis and what that would look like for them. As a part of this training, we have live gatherings, we have digital self-paced learning, we have practice sessions where you swap with your peers, we have time for discussion and work in small groups, and then we also have our WhatsApp. And that is where we can connect even more outside of the class times, outside of the discussion times, outside of that individualized coaching time. So if you want to learn more about the Hypnotic Arts Training, definitely click the link in the show notes. Before we get into that, though, I want to tell you about a free workshop that I'm putting on. So the workshop is going to be this coming Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. It starts at 6 p.m. Central. It goes for 90 minutes. And it is an intro to hypnosis and past life regression. So this is for all of you who have emailed me over the last few months, and specifically, I guess, really over the last year, who have said, I find your podcast so entertaining, so much fun. I feel like I get healing out of it. And then they'll tell me how they're too nervous or afraid to do one of the hypnotic journeys on their own at home. So if that's you, or if you're just curious about learning more about hypnosis and accessing other soul memories, other lifetimes with hypnosis, come to this free workshop. So in this workshop, you're going to learn what hypnosis is, how it works, and then you're going to be able to understand why hypnosis is great for accessing other or past lifetimes. And then we're going to take a hypnotic journey to another lifetime. And before we go into that hypnotic journey, I'll tell you everything you need to know to get prepared for that hypnotic journey. You'll kick back, relax, listen to that hypnotic journey, have your own experience, and then we'll come out of it. You'll be able to have some time to journal or take notes on your experience, ask questions if you have them, share your experience if you want, and then we will close that circle and move on from that workshop. So if you're interested, please sign up, and you can do that in the link in the show notes. If you're interested but you can't be there on Wednesday, October 18th of 2023 at 6 p.m. Central, still sign up because I will be sending out a replay link to everyone. So if you sign up, you will get the link to attend live and you will get the replay link. Follow the link in the show notes to learn even more about what happens when you register. Everybody, all ability levels are welcome, whether you've done hypnosis before or not. Click the link, read more about it. I would love to have you there. And if you sign up or if you read about it and you think of a friend who might be interested, please send them the link. See if they want to sign up. See if they want to start tapping into that magic of hypnosis. Okay, everyone, gather around the fire for a little history and informational lesson on hypnosis and accessing past lives or other lifetimes. We're going to start it out by talking about hypnotic regression, just in general, what is hypnotic regression? And then we're going to dive into specifically past life regression. We'll talk about, of course, like what it is, a little bit of the history behind it, and then the theories of like, what are we actually doing when we are accessing, experiencing these past lives. So like I said before, as we go through this, I feel like it can feel like a lot of information, especially because what we teach here is like a lot really based on past life regression, even though there's so much you can do with regression, with hypnosis. So many of the skills that we teach are first introduced via past life regression, or at least the way we do it in this training. So I just really want to hit home. Like if you feel like you're drinking out of a fire hose, or you come out of this class, this session tonight with a ton of questions, like I'm going to have a lot of space in this class for you all to ask questions if you have them. But just so you kind of have a lay of the land, this class, we're doing these things. And then the next time we meet in session number 5, we're going to go a little bit more specifically into like the different techniques, different things you can do with it, common misconceptions or tricky scenarios. And those are all things that we're going to dive deeper into in the next class. And then some of those things, even like tricky scenarios, like your client getting stuck in the black or your client like just not going anywhere, we'll be able to kind of really dig into those things too. So for sure, if you have the question, ask the question, and you might get an answer today, and you might get an answer today, and then we might go deeper on that subject later, depending on what that is. Okay, so first up, hypnotic regression, just in general. Hypnotic regression, according to Alan Chips, who is the author of the clinical hypnotherapy textbook that y'all are reading, he says hypnotic regression is perhaps the single most powerful intervention for creating a change in an individual's character in the shortest amount of time. So I completely agree with that. When we're talking about hypnotic regression, we're using hypnosis to experience, re-examine things that have happened in the past. So it could be like something that happened to you last month. It could be something that happened to you when you were a teenager, a kid, a baby. We can even regress back into the womb. We can regress all the way back to conception, which I feel like would be traumatizing on so many levels. But there are stories of how healing that can be, just understanding those connections. And then, of course, if you believe in past lives, if you're interested in past life regression, then that includes being able to go and experience other past memories, which includes past life. So just so you all know too, and we'll get into it a little bit more in the theories, but we use the word past life regression, that sort of thing. And we'll talk a little bit about time, but just so you know, even if you're like, well, are these past lives? Are they just other timelines? Are these other people's past lives? We'll be getting more into that in a little bit. So when it comes to just hypnotic regression, it's using hypnosis to help people explore their past. So sometimes you'll hear it called age regression. It's really just to be able to explore those things that we think we have a certain memory of, or it might be a memory that we don't hold a lot of, that we feel like, it doesn't hold a lot of influence. And it might be something that when examining an issue in hypnosis, we might be able to access more details, more emotions about certain memories, whether we consciously remember them right now or not. And in that, we can get different perspectives. We can really dig in, release anything that we need to release, dig around, ask more questions, see how much it's affecting us in our life today. But just so you know, in that hypnotic regression, sometimes you might regress someone to a childhood memory, and they might have a conscious memory of that even before they get regressed there, and sometimes they don't. So it really just is person to person, but hypnotic regression in general is really just exploring the past using hypnosis. The last bullet point here, it says clients may experience regression either associated or dissociated depending on the level of comfort and readiness. And so when we describe associated or dissociated, it could, for example, be whether it's a past life memory or a memory from your childhood, for example. Um, an associated experience of that memory would be like you experiencing it as if you were in that scene in that body. And dissociated is when, like, for whatever reason, being in that experience in your body, in that memory, re-experiencing it again. If that's too traumatizing, too difficult, too uncomfortable for the client, you can always do dissociated, which is essentially cueing them to, and just to know you're safe. But if you want to, you can always pull out and watch it like a movie on a movie screen and just kind of create a little bit more distance between them and whatever drama or trauma or whatever's going on in that past life memory, or in that memory, whether it's past life or this life. So that's something that we're trained in, and you will be trained in, on how to kind of read these cues, how to kind of move forward, and understanding and working with your intuition, I believe, is a big part of that. But what we know about hypnosis is that we're working with the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is there to protect us. And that old story of, like, you put your hand on a burner and you're pulling your hand off that burner before your conscious mind can go, oh, hot, pull hand off. And people say that's your subconscious mind. So our subconscious mind, we're working in it with hypnosis, and it's there to protect us. So I find that even though I'm cueing, like, just know you're safe experiencing this memory if the details coming in sound kind of traumatic, and I cue them to be able to watch it like a movie on a movie screen, or even leaving that memory and working on the memory from a completely removed spot. And it happens naturally in a session. Like, our clients, our minds, our subconscious minds are designed to keep us safe. So just know that you're working with that, even though you will be trained to cue it and sense it. It happens automatically. So that's what we mean by associated or dissociated.
I'll just say that we're hitting the surface of this tonight, but when I go into shadow work a little bit later in the training, hypnotic regression is the main technique for the shadow work approach that I take and that we'll be teaching. So if, working with the inner child, working in memories of this life, kind of exploring emotions and somatics is something that you're interested in, just know that we are going to go much deeper in that later on.
All right, past life regression, what is it? So Sarah and I share our descriptions of what it is here. I'll read mine. Past life regression uses hypnosis to access unconscious/subconscious memories for new perspectives, insights, ways of healing that consciously benefit us in this life. And I really do feel like past life regression, like, I want to emphasize the last part of that statement there of I believe our intention with past life regression, or at least my intention and what I work with clients, is really to have these experiences, but not get so caught up on the details of who you were in that life, and more so bringing any insights, wisdom, clarity, anything you can bring with you to give you a new perspective, give you some healing, just make you feel better in this life. So I really believe that that is what this modality is all about, is like taking that information and integrating it into this life. You can just go and experience a past life or past memories for entertainment. But when I think of past life regression, that's what I think. Sarah, do you mind reading yours?
No, I'll read it. Past life regression is a hypnotic technique that allows us to experience memories from beyond our current consciousness in order to heal unwanted patterns and stagnant energy in our present life. I remember when I wrote this, I wanted to emphasize that the memories are from beyond our current consciousness. And I have stopped calling past life regression in my current work. I call it accessing soul memories, because I don't know that I believe in this timeline of past, present, future. And I know that's like heady and probably going a little bit meta, but I am started to see it as a concurrent life that we're living rather than past, present, future. So yeah, the part of this definition that I wanted to point out is definitely like memories beyond our consciousness. Where those memories are coming from, whether it's the past or the future or side by side, I don't think matters so much. But yeah, past life regression is what interested me in the first place in this work. So I want to honor like the hook that is, you know, and talking about it. But yeah, I'm kind of working through what I believe as far as the past, present, future timeline.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, just like how you're shifting that name. And I completely agree. And as you'll see, as we move through like the history of past life regression, is that it's continually growing and changing. And just the more people that go on hypnotic journeys, the more people that facilitate hypnotic journeys, the more we learn about like, what is it really, you know? And I feel the same way. I would love even the term regression, you know, and past life regression, I completely agree, like looking for other ways to describe that. So just something for you to think about. I clearly use past life regression. I'm clearly invested because my my podcast is Past Lives in the Divine. But really, we can make it what we want. So if you start to like think of a better word to describe it or a way you want to go about it, like just get curious about that. Like, what is it to you? How do you want to go about it? Would you call it past life regression? Would you call it something else? And it's not a decision you need to make now, but it really is something that I want people to take and like continue to grow and explore. And just as we do that, I think more and more, we start to see like, I don't know, does time really exist as it does on this rotating planet around this special star? So yeah, we'll talk more about that too. I'm sure there'll be plenty of conversations. Okay. So past life regression history. So from the Lucas book, I love the way she describes this. Regression therapy, the matrix of past life work did not emerge intact and complete. It's an intricate tapestry still in the process of being woven with many threads of theory and practice. Some of these are ancient, dating back to the Greek dream incubation centers and to the Greek and Egyptian mystery schools. I love it. I love this idea that it's like a tapestry. It's still in process. I couldn't agree more. And then Alan Chip says, since the roots of our character, I'll let you in shame it. Since the roots of our character are unconscious and hypnotic regression illuminates these roots, clients of regression can change the programming that exists from the past instantaneously. 100%. And in a past life regression, you can definitely, and you all have maybe had both of these experiences, you can go into a hypnosis session or a past life regression and just come out like completely changed because you've brought the unconscious to the conscious. And it's like, oh, now that I know that, it's so easy to insert, let this go or be this way. And so just to know that that can happen. And then also too, just as we make these changes on a soul level, on this deep subconscious level, sometimes people say it can take up to like 4, even 6 weeks for us to like really see the benefits unfold in our life from a hypnosis session. So yeah, huge learnings that can come when we dive a little bit deeper. All right, so past life regression history. This is all from your books. So the 2 books that you have as your required reading. So just know this information is in there. And it really starts out by I want to start out by saying, like, again, just like the history of hypnosis, that we really have just scratched the surface. I feel like as people discover more ancient cultures and discover more about ancient cultures, and we understand like how people would look at the soul or how people understood reincarnation or if they believed in it. I believe that even though history is in the past, like even the history is growing and changing with this. So, of course, we have the Hindu philosopher Patanjali, and he wrote, or is the writer of the Yoga Sutras, and he talks about understanding current problems through that lens of looking at past lives or knowing that past lives can kind of stir up things in this life. And then we have the Buddha. So Buddhist monks and yogis use techniques taught by the Buddha to turn memory back, to uncover what's been forgotten. And Sigmund Freud, as we all know, could be problematic on some levels, but really kind of pioneered the psychological, like bringing the unconscious to the conscious mind and helping that in bringing healing and helping us to feel like more in control of our lives, more aware of what's going on. Edgar Cayce, he would access clients' past lives while he was in trance. So that was more like a reading. And if you've ever gotten a past life reading, they can also be very healing, just like it can be very healing to listen to someone else's past life experience. And so that's what he would do. He would go into trance and read. Carl Jung, who many of us have heard of, he really promoted like just the idea of archetypes and the collective consciousness, the collective unconscious, and just really this existence of this universal force that's around us. And what I think is interesting is like how even Carl Jung, I know for sure, like even though people speak highly of him today and the way he's written about and talked about today is fondly for the most part that I notice, when he was actually alive, he was considered like too spiritual and not like practical enough to actually study his work. So in his field back when he was alive, it wasn't, I mean, he was kind of ostracized for a while from what I understand. Okay. All right. So moving into roughly nearly 100 years ago, 60 years ago or so, just more and more people started to talk about it. More, psychology, spiritualism started to pick up. Did I miss something here? Nope, I didn't. Okay. Spiritualism started to pick up really in the 19th century, this idea of like tarot cards and seances, and with that, just being able to tap into like past lives, reincarnation. So with that, and then just the more psychology people bringing it in and using hypnosis to really tap into those early childhood memories, and doing more and more of that, more and more people started talking about it, more and more people with special letters behind their names and degrees started doing it and writing books about it. And so just the popularity of it just started to grow more and more, and it became something that a lot of people have heard about, or it wasn't too far off from what they have heard about. And then in the 70s, there was 4 books that were published. I mean, many books published around just like consciousness, healing, hypnosis. But specifically in 1978 alone, there were 4 books written just around this idea of tapping into these unconscious memories, whether it's in this life or a past life. And they were all people that had like psychologists, medical doctors, so people with some prestige and just people that, people looked up to these experts, and they started talking more about it. So just kind of like added to the momentum going around this idea of searching for, diving into these unconscious memories. The momentum just kept going. So in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot more like even conferences, events around these things, hypnosis included, and even associations just to continue to like educate people on it, kind of bring in this information, and just having a more structured space for the discussion of it. And not only hypnosis, but altered states in general. So hypnosis was a part of that, but just in general, altered states of mind. And again, just more and more momentum, increased experimentation, and with that, more storytelling. I think most of us have read, or for sure have heard of, Many Lives, Many Masters. And that was published first in 1988. And that's Brian Weiss. And, we have like Dolores Cannon, Lois J. Wetzel, Michael Newton, all of these people were doing hypnosis, in the decades, even before the 80s. But it really started to pick up steam, more books, more conferences, more gatherings, more associations, all of that stuff. And then, of course, with that, you get people who create more structure around it. So, for example, Michael Newton worked with Alan Chips and created the National Association for Transpersonal Hypnotists or Hypnotherapists. So just more and more like that. And then, in the last few decades, there's just less focus on the debate over like the authenticity of it, or are you crazy or not? And more so just like, how is this helping us? And with more and more discussion of like the benefits of it, as opposed to the debate over like, is this real? Is this not real? Even though there's plenty of people who still debate that, I feel like it has really turned more so into talking about like the structure around it, the benefits that we can have in our lives. And then of course, just like celebrity and cultural interests. Like I think Many Lives, Many Masters just like blew up in the 90s. I don't know what year it was, but sometime in the 90s when Brian Weiss was on Oprah, or maybe that was actually early 2000s. But you're having more and more of these just celebrity culture talking about it. And people are like, wait, what? Just getting interested. And then, of course, just as you go down that path, as you have those experiences, more and more questions, more and more searching, more and more discussions and conversations just about the soul's journey and just expanding. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean to me? How can I use that to heal? So that's the general history of it. And then just, of course, like women, non-binary, trans folks, many people of color are just not found in the written or visual history of hypnosis in general, and past life regression is the same. And like I said, I think even though history, we think of it as in the past and not changing, it is changing in the sense that, people are always discovering new things. And so just as we continue to learn more about human history, it wouldn't surprise me if more and more information came about, cultures using intentional ways to access past life memories, to access unconscious memories in this life or otherwise.
Yeah, I just find this to be so exciting, but because I feel like in a decade or a couple of decades, like the work that we're doing right now is going to be like what we talk about in the history of hypnosis, in the history of past life regression, all of the ways that we can use this modality and infuse it into other modalities. The more we learn about the brain with psychology, like there's just going to be, I think, so much more interest around this the further we get. And so, yeah, it's really exciting to me that we're actively co-creating this field.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way you put that, like actively co-creating this field. I completely agree. I think that, it's just as more of us continue to learn and grow and explore, we're just going to learn more about like, what are these unseen realms? And like, if there's order to be made from it, like we will be able to make more order of it. And just continuing to be open and curious, I think it's exciting, I think. And I think someday we probably won't even need hypnosis. We'll just like blink our eyes and be there. We like transcend the need. But who knows? Humans will be doing so good if we can do that. Okay, so when we talk about accessing other lives, yes, hypnosis for sure. But just so you know, people can access other lives, past lives, however they describe it. We can access those spontaneously. We can access them intentionally. So I would think of hypnosis would be one way we can access it intentionally, but people have it unintentionally in their dreams. So other ways that we can access these memories intentionally or unintentionally would be through something like breath work, sound, rhythms, drumming, that sort of thing, dance, deep relaxation. People experience this, even in meditation, they might get glimpses of it. Psychedelics, for sure, like the plant medicines, sleep time, dream world, meditation. And again, it can be spontaneous or intentional. All right. So theories of past life regression. So there's a lot of them. What are we doing? So Chips talks about 3 primary explanations. This is all in your book, the Clinical Hypnotherapy book. And he talks about it's just like we have one life. That's one way to do it. One way to think about it is it's just this life. And we would use regression to go to childhood, to go to any year earlier than what we're living in currently. You could go again to when you're an infant, inside the womb. You can go to conception. So he lays it out as like, if you're someone who only believes in one life, you don't believe in reincarnation, that would be one way of looking at regression. Another way to look at regression, according to Chips, is through the collective unconscious. So this idea that we all have access to, like, if you've ever heard of the Hall of Knowledge or the Akashic Records, it's this idea that there's in the universe, in the unseen realms around us, is that everything that's ever was, is, or will be is known, you know, and it's this idea too of like, if time is not a thing and it's all happening all at once, then we have access to all that information. And so Chips's explanation here is this idea that we can use hypnosis, hypnotic regression, to go in to that collective unconscious and get understandings and knowings. So some people say that this is, this is one explanation for, which if you haven't heard of this, you will hear it in the future, of like how 15 people can be like, I was Cleopatra in a past life. And the idea is that when you're going, you know, into a hypnotic regression to experience a past life, you set the intention and you get what you need. And it could be just basically that instead of going into your own soul memories, you're really going into this universal knowledge, this collective unconscious / consciousness, and getting the information you need from there. So the idea would be there is that it's not necessarily my past life, if I did believe in timelines like that, but it could be someone else's. And I'm just picking what I need, kind of like a book from a library. It's like someone else might have read part of this book, but I'm going to read this part of this book. So that's one theory about it. And then, of course, there is the reincarnation theory. And so that would be, you know, really tapping into the soul's experience, past lives, the life between lives, soul contracts, you know, understanding the plans we made for this life, karma, all of that stuff. So those are Chips's 3 primary explanations of what's going on. And then in the Lucas book, the philosophies there are, it's really like the first one is about the journey of the soul. So like you come here, you learn, and you go back. You come here to earth, you learn, and you go back. And then the other idea is really similar, but more so with like karmic patterns, in the sense of like you come here, but there's like specific things that you're either trying to learn or trying to work out or trying to balance out, that idea of karma, and that being kind of the driving force as to what your experience is here today. And then we also have the idea of the wisdom of the core self. Like when we're doing these regressions, when we're tapping into these unconscious memories, we're actually tapping into like the truest part of who we are. And in that space, we can not only clearly understand the experiences our souls have had, past lives, for example, but we can also get a real clear view on like, what is the purpose of being here? What is important to me? It's this idea of like your core self, your soul's knowing, as opposed to your conscious mind that's been like programmed by the overculture and, you know, has you headed in a certain direction. And it's not that those behaviors can't overlap. It's just that sometimes they overlap and sometimes they don't overlap. And it can create, you know, just distress, discomfort, confusion, feelings of stuckness in our life. And then the last one she talks about in her book is the energetic nature of experience and transformation. And that's just this idea that, again, just healing these patterns. Like we come here, we learn things, we have experiences, we might pick up some baggage, we might leave some baggage behind. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is like learn from this experience and transform, heal, whatever that means to you. So again, I think it's important, not necessarily that you like pick one and hang on to it, whether it's one of these or something else you've picked up along your experience or reading other things. Again, it's less important about like which one do you identify with. And I think it's just good to have kind of that knowledge base of what could be going on. Again, I think it's important to like show up to these this work with some humility of like, I am doing what I can with what I know right now. And no one knows exactly what's going on the other side of life, on the other side of the veil, until you're like there, and then you're dead and no one has come back to share what the hell's going on over there. So we don't know. And I've said this before, and I said it, I think probably in my very first podcast episode of like, I don't have all the answers. If that was a requirement, I would have never started my podcast and I don't know where I'd be today. But I think it's just really the importance of like knowing that these different ideas out there exist, paying attention to your own like soul's knowings and interests and ideas and inklings. And then also too, just you're going to have clients who are having their own experiences, and you're going to be able to learn from that too. And it's less about knowing like everything that's going on the other side and like having the capital T truth, and instead knowing about all the different ways that this could be happening or life could be unfolding for us and getting repeated for us. And just so you're able to really kind of talk about it. And because, talk about it in the sense of like whether you're doing it publicly or with clients or just in your own mind. But it's really, being able to, it comes down, I guess, to that client-centered therapy of like, we really, really want this to be client-centered. So if they only believe in one life, I've had clients, past life regression clients, that don't believe in reincarnation, which is like, that's cool. I don't even know if I do. Should we go explore another life, whatever that means, So you don't necessarily have to have a spiritual belief in reincarnation. You just have to be open to the experience. And no matter what someone's beliefs are, if they're open to the experience, if they trust the facilitator and they're willing to go wherever, the session takes them, they will have the experience that they're meant to have. And these theories are just things for us to know about, things for us to ponder and share with people if they need validation or if they have questions. And then for us, of course, just kind of continuing to craft what we believe is going on in these sessions and just continuing to learn and grow and not feeling like we have to get it right because, there's so many theories about what's going on out there, and just to really be curious and see what works for you.
I guess from this list, I more closely fall into the like collective unconscious approach. I do have like this deep belief that we're all one. So it makes sense to me that we're tapping into a more source collective space. And then from the Lucas list, I think I would most closely fall into the like energetic nature of experience. My journey leads me back to trusting myself time and time again. And I think part of that trust is trusting my soul's decision to be here now. Yeah. So this idea that we're trying to like escape Earth or escape the 3D or ascend to a higher place, that just doesn't jive with me, because I really feel like I chose to be here. And it feels like we're experiencing that as embodied as possible is the goal. But yeah, that's changed so many times for me, like what I believe and what I think we're accessing. And so I think it's beautiful to just stay open and willing to evolve with the modality.
There it is. That is our episode for today. Remember, if you want to join me for that free workshop or watch the replay, click the link in the show notes, send it to a friend. I hope I see you there. All right, take anything that makes your load feel lighter and just leave the rest.